what I wanted to start with was the fact that 18 months ago, I had zero interest in ChatGPT, and now I don't know what I do without it. So I'd like to ask, for sort of a show of hands, how many of you are using ChatGPT and how many of you are like, I don't trust it, I don't like it, I don't want to go near it, I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's a bunch of garbage. When
I have a question. When you say chat GPT, do you mean artificial intelligence or do you mean that specific product? And do you pay for it?
Yes, I do pay for it. In fact, I pay for a Teams version. And
How much does that cost?
well, since I pay monthly, it's $30 a month per user.
Per
Um,
user.
per user, and I have 3 users on the team that are using it. But if you pay by the year, I think it's only $20 a month per user. But
If
the
you can't live
advantage
without
of
it, why haven't you jumped to annual?
because I want to be able to change the users.
You can't?
I don't know. I just signed up for the Teams version.
Okay, sorry.
What's an extra
Uh,
10 bucks for Sean? It's like
the reason for using the Teams version is it doesn't train the algorithm, and I'll get into that. It doesn't train the large language model. And so all of the stuff that I'm doing is basically like working offline. But what happened is I had brain surgery. Many of you know this. I don't know, 15 months ago, something like that, February of last year. And it didn't turn out so great. If you click on this link here, it will take you to the video that I did, which was my most viral video ever. And then like a week later, I was in the ICU. So careful of what you post. But I almost didn't post that thing because I thought, oh, that's too personal. And then it ended up being my most popular post ever. What I had to do was I couldn't type and I had to find workarounds. And I became very dependent on voice to text transcription and using that. And as a result of that, I've developed a workflow which has significantly changed the volume of work that I do. Now, fast forward, when I talk about ChatGPT, I'm not saying AI, I'm not saying large language models, I'm saying ChatGPT. That's the program that I use. There are other ones out there. I haven't used them. I can't speak to them. So I'm not really going to.
What are we looking at? A million impressions of what?
Over the last year, I've been able to increase the number of impressions that I get on a rolling 365-day basis to 100,000 per year. And that's up from about 250,000 the previous year, where I lacked a content strategy. This is the most important indicator. And you have to go into the analytics of your post, scroll to the bottom, view all analytics, and then you have to hit this button, which is going to default to 7 days to past 365 days. And that's how you get to this number. And this is the number that I stress with my clients, that LinkedIn is a slow burn. It's not about, oh, I had this post and it got this many likes, or I had this post and it got this many likes. It's about consistency over time, so that you're getting this number here, 100 or a million and 245,000 unique views. So that's how many people are, engaging with my stuff. So that when we talk about audience, is what we're talking about. I'm not a big analytics guy. I'm a big did you get the sale guy. And is it working? You'll know if it's working, you'll know if it's not working. However, this is the one analytic number that I do pay attention to. And most importantly, I've been able to grow my business by consistently providing value on LinkedIn, and that the goal of this. So then we're going to talk about how do you transform whatever you're an expert in. And, let's go around the room and say what you're an expert in. Who's first?
Package engineering.
There you go. The godmother of package engineering. That's what I call
Regula
it.
regulatory law.
Nice.
Work as does.
We're
Medical
focused now on
device, wireless
secure,
connectivity.
yeah, wireless cloud connected medical devices and cybersecurity.
We don't
Okay.
know what Luke does.
What I am expert in,
Yeah, what
I
are you an
think-
expert in? Dog training and?
and I think making a good medical device despite the regulations.
Buford, what are you good at?
Orthopedic startups.
Nice. Okay, so you get the idea. So what I'm trying to do is to say, okay, how are you going to capture all of the wonderful ideas that are in your head? How are you going to take all that information and knowledge that you've acquired over the years in your you're going to use ChatGPT to transform that into marketing outputs, things that you can share with the world without going to the mat every single time like you're writing a dissertation. And so the tool that I find to be the most effective for that is the voice recording. And what's going to happen is we're going to have a recording of this webinar. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to upload the voice recording, the transcription of the voice recording into ChatGPT along with the slide deck. And we're going to say, what did I talk about? Write me a post. And that's really, in a nutshell, how it works. I also use AI as a personal productivity coach because I have ADHD and I need a daily reminder. I don't like Monday.com or any of those programs that are like supposed to, keep you organized. They don't work for me. So what I've been working with ChatGPT to do is to help me create a structure that actually works for me. I'm going to share with my marketing stack with you. So if you use either of these green links to sign up for either Fireflies or Constant Contact, I'll get a bonus. Thanks. And ChatGPT won't do that for me, nor will Canva. But these are the 4 pieces that I cannot live without to do my marketing, right? These are essential, absolutely mandatory. And Fireflies, you can use Otter, you can use any program you want to, but the idea is that it takes audio, video files, transcribes them, summarizes them using AI, and also provides a written transcript. The written transcript is the thing that I import into ChatGPT to do the work. As far as I know, ChatGPT does not successfully do the translation itself.
So Sean,
Yeah.
David, if I can ask, so how does any of those 4, how do any deal with technical language or technical medical language, or is it more for the common person?
It does a very, very good job with technical language. The one thing that I would say that it gets wrong over and over again is IVDR. They say like IPDR, or I don't know what they,
Sure.
but I mean, correcting something like that really isn't a big deal. And the other thing is that then when you import the thing into ChatGPT, a lot of times it knows that it got it wrong in the translation. It knows what IVDR is,
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of you entering it prior, or because of the global users and it looks at all that?
Because the large language model is trained on everything on the internet,
Okay.
everything on the World Wide Web. It knows, it figures out what you're talking about.
Sure.
So
Thanks.
what I wanted to do was to sort of walk you through some examples of things that you can do with ChatGPT and, including this slide deck that you're looking at. The way that I work at this point is the first thing I say to ChatGPT is I need to give a presentation on how to 10x your marketing using AI. And I would like to talk about X, Y, and Z. And I do this voice to text, which you can do right here in the tool, and you can either click this or you can click this. And so what you say is you tell the thing, I want to write a 10 to 12 slide presentation on how to use AI to 10x your marketing productivity for the MDG group. And I would like to give specific examples of things that I can do with ChatGPT. And I would like to then add my own experience to that in the form of bullet points, pull quotes, etc., from the recording that I provided. So I take this, I go to this, I go to upload file, and I recorded for each slide, slide deck 2 and slide deck 1. I attach these two documents. So the thing is that now it's going to build a slide deck based on me, not on general knowledge, but what I told it that I want to talk about.
Let me ask, Sean, is this now, is it leveraging the other 100 times you've talked to it? Or is this independent of the past?
It's largely independent of the past.
Okay.
So what is spitting out here is an outline for the slide deck. And what it did was in these bullet points, it took a lot of long-winded explanations and it reduced them to 4 or 5 words apiece. Okay, so now it's written the entire outline for me, right? And then I take that outline and I go into Canva. So I need to go here, back to the deck. And so rather than starting with a blank slide deck, I need to go give a presentation at RAPS. I need to go give a presentation for a webinar. I need to go do this. What you've just done by using your own ideas and babbling into a recorder on your telephone, and then transferring that file, transcribing that file, uploading that file, you're telling ChatGPT exactly what you want to say. So now you're capturing your expertise. You're not leveraging the large language model to say, what should I be talking about, right? You're not going to them and you're saying, I don't know anything about this subject, so please write a thing for me, right? So you still have to take the time to make these slides. And I'd say it took me about 2 hours to make these slides.
Using
Right.
Canva?
Using Canva, because
And does
you
it
can-
have I imagine it has an AI feature where you're able to feed it what you just generated from ChatGPT?
I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but that's a good thing for us to explore.
That's meaning you, and you present it to us in a month.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So then the next thing is similarly client proposals. If you record a client intake call, and then you can use ChatGPT to create something which is called a chat, right?
Sean, I'm
And
sorry, could you go back a second to your presentation? Did you select a photograph for every slide?
yes.
Okay. Because
So
there's a product, and I haven't figured out how to use it efficiently, but a friend is the CEO of a startup called Pictory
mhm.
AI, and it makes videos out of text and uses a terrific bank of stock imagery. So like if you're ever in the elevator and there's that little monitor saying, this is what happened in politics today, and it has the words, and then it just has some pictures that sometimes are really on key and sometimes are a little off, but you get the idea and you watch the video. It does that for you. It selects the images for you. So I'm also thinking that I very much like your template, but it's a template that you designed, correct?
Yes, Francesco did.
So you went in and you went into the slide and you typed in black example 2 and you typed in yellow draft client proposals. It's not something
Right,
that was
I cut and
replicable.
pasted it from that outline, and then I reworded a couple things and show what I always tell my employees is work in the platform, right? Because when you're working in the platform, you're like, does this slide work?
Mhm.
You know, I ask you guys, does the slide work?
It does for me, although I find it harder to read the bullet points that wrap like this. It's good that they're left justified, but just, I'm looking over no more slaving over client proposals. That I take away, and it's hard for me to listen to you, which is the point. This is supposed to be a visual aid, but also to glean those 3 points personally.
And Sean, is this a kind of house style for you? Or is it every time something else?
They're branded colors, I don't Francesco does the basic design, and then I go in and edit the thing, and but you can, I mean, in Canva they have a whole bunch of slide templates
Mhm.
that are available. I just tend not to use the templates.
And you don't use PowerPoint, I imagine, anymore?
I really hate PowerPoint. PowerPoint is like the 1990s all over again or something.
I will say, however, that if you get PowerPoint's AI, which is called Copilot, it will generate a deck for you. And I think, because Jennifer uses it, I think it generates images for you as well.
Probably. I would imagine that it does.
Martin?
I got ChatGPT to write me a program to generate my PowerPoint template for the regulatory roundup.
Nice.
So I said, I need a white border at the bottom, white border at the top. It has to be so high. I need text left justified. And it does it. It did it.
It can do a lot of surprising things.
I also got ChatGPT. I had 285 files of a client that I was supposed to go through and check all the standards that they reference in these files. And I got ChatGPT to write me a script to do that, and then list all the standards that are referenced and in what file they're referenced where. And it's amazing what inconsistency these people do in their documents.
And in the chat, Paul shared Gamma, GAMMA.app as another way to create presentations. I took you off topic, sorry.
That's fine.
I know it's interesting for the folks because we make presentations and we labor over them.
So how many of you labor over client proposals?
Just a few hands. Is that, Jose, you have to do traditional RFPs?
Yeah, I mean, I think by the time we send an actual written proposal, it's more for formality than anything else. I would say the greater labor is, the presentations and the discussions up until the point where you're ready to sign a statement of work.
I think there's pretty much an AI for everything at this point. So just 2 weeks ago, Jennifer, who is a clinical psychologist and is now seeing patients virtually, she loves that part. But afterward, she has to write notes about the patient. And apparently it has to have these specific sentences in it for her to submit for reimbursement. There's a program that writes it for her. She would spend an hour a piece. Actually, she would probably spend 3 hours a piece because 2 hours was procrastinating because she really didn't want to write the thing. And then an hour doing it. It does it for her in 5 minutes. Then she overreads, makes some adjustments, and she's done.
And that's true for basically everybody working in healthcare. And my brother's girlfriend is a physical therapist, and she sees a patient for half an hour, and then she spends a half hour documenting into the system in the format that it needs to be documented into. So literally half of her time is spent documenting. And I'm like, don't you guys know about AI? Don't you know that once you figure out the formula, as Martin said, you can train the thing to write it for you, so that all you do is feed it a little information. And in this case, what you're doing is you're feeding it the call recording with the client. You're saying, summarize what we talked about, explain what the client's goals are, explain the strategy that we discussed, write an SOW, and write an agreement. And it does all of that in, 2 or 3 minutes, start to finish. And it, again, it's important that you go through the work and that you make the corrections. But really, honestly, the AI does a better job of recalling what was discussed in that conversation than I do. And reflects it better than a human being. So that's an important tool. The next is this similar, but it's client communications. How many times have you gotten a question from a client that you don't care for, you don't like, you don't really, you're not sure how to respond to it? You're like, it depends, then, like all this sort of thing. Like the one that I always get is like these inquiries from people that are like, perhaps we can collaborate. So I said to ChatGPT, when people say to me, perhaps we can collaborate, what I hear is, I don't want to pay you any money, right? Therefore, I don't want to waste my time having a conversation with a person who's determined never to pay me any money. But those very same people are the people who would insist on never working for free themselves. Right. So they're expecting me to work for free for them, and they're putting it under the guise of a collaboration. So I said to Chat, please help me find a way to respond to this person, which says, yeah, if you're willing to pay me, I'm willing to talk. Right. And it writes this beautiful, polished thing, which very eloquently, and gracefully addresses the idea that I am open to collaborating. However, I have a model which I use for collaborations that I would be happy to discuss with them, that requires them to pay or something like, and so the thing is that it takes these things that you just tell it the problem that, and how am I supposed to answer this question, right? And it will figure out a way to do it a lot better than I can, because I'll tell you that ChatGPT is a lot more diplomatic than I am. That is not one of my things. And the other thing is a lot of times your answer is not really very straightforward. It says harebrained ideas. My harebrained ideas are like, I've got 17 different ideas and I'm not sure how to prioritize them. Chat will take those 17 ideas, reduce it to 5, and pick the best ones and be like, yeah, why don't you do this? So again, it's my therapist. It's a good listener. It doesn't, but again, it's working from what you do, not from making it up out of whole cloth. That makes sense.
So maybe this could help you be a grief counselor. Let's move on.
This is one of my favorite ones, is generating a flip book. When I send you this thing, I had a Q&A with this guy about this and recorded the thing, and then took the long recording where he explained all this stuff to me, and from his book, and then said, take that Q&A recording and turn it into a flip book. And for each thing, I would like you to restate the question, give the answer, give his explanation, and then transform what he said into cohesive tips.
And
So
what program did you use for this?
that's Chat GPT.
Okay, but then the layout you designed in Canva and laid out?
Yeah. I mean, it was just, what you're doing here is you're saying people don't have the attention span, so let's create a flip book for them on LinkedIn. And then this is the other part is, what you write up here really sets it up, right?
And LinkedIn is offering that now too.
And you can have it write that part as well, right? So now you're able to create this flip book, and show, one of the things that I'm working on is Michelle has created all of this fantastic content over the years. And it's going back to the content that she's created and saying, let's present that same information in a different distilled way. Let's take that information, because a lot of it is
a perfect client for this.
What?
She's a perfect client for this process.
Right, because she's knowledgeable and because she's invested a lot of time and money into creating a lot of valuable content. She's on podcasts, she's on YouTube, she's got recorded videos
everywhere you want to be.
But you can just, take her PowerPoint decks and upload them into ChatGPT and say, make me a 7-page flipbook from Michelle's 60-page PowerPoint deck. Okay, that's the command. Right? And if you get a little bit more specific with the command and you tell it exactly what you want it to say on each page, I want a question, I want an answer, I want an explanation, and I want a tip from the field, right? Or I want to watch out, or I want a pro tip, or I want a best practice, or I want, an additional resource, right?
Can you ask ChatGPT to, so I have a lot of content on my website in hundreds of blog posts. Can you say, read Joe Hage's site and give me his 10 most salient themes?
No, but if you download all of that into a PDF or a Word doc, it can all be uploaded. It will not generally scan websites. Now we could ask it to do that.
Sure that while you're doing this, I'll ask Bing Copilot, what are AIs that can scan websites?
Okay.
Actually, I'll ask Search because Anthony Chang taught us that it takes 10 times the energy to use chat versus a search.
So interviews and articles, the idea here is, again, repurposing content, taking content that's out there. So one of my favorite things is FDA produces a 75-page guidance on something. You simply download the PDF, upload the PDF into ChatGPT and say, WTF is this? Please explain this to me in layman's terms and help me understand the significance of it. That's number one. A lot of people are reposting FDA documents, guidances, other content from around the world. Martin can speak to this. There are certain people that are document reposters. What the majority of them fail to do is to indicate in the post itself the significance of that document and what people need to know. Adding that step to reposting a document is going to make your content 10 times more valuable than simply reposting an FDA document that came out this week.
Nikki?
Yeah, to Sean's point about downloading, a 1 trillion-page document and having it summarized, 4 times a year, Medicare comes out with rules and fee schedules for, they're posted in the Code of Federal Regulations. They're on the government's website. They're 1,200 pages long or something like that. And it's Medicare saying, okay, in the inpatient setting, here's what we're going to pay for next year and so on. And here's some new technologies that we're going to move from this payment category to this payment category, or we're going to assign NTAP or TPT add-on payments. Well, those 4 times a year, I'm at this computer until midnight, scrolling, trying to do Control F on the correct terms and all of that. And we're now getting to the point, Sean, where we're doing exactly what you just said and just download it, put it in a Word document. Hey, AI, read this and look for the terms peripheral artery disease, pulmonary, the interesting things that mean something to me, summarize it, because another thing that's happened to us is we don't know we may not know of a new company that just got TPT that's now going to compete with one of our products. And this is now a way to go, oh my gosh, this company just got translational pass-through status. Let's go let the sales force know, hey guys, there's a new kid on the block. You got to keep your eye out for him. And to go, Sean, to scroll through 1,200 pages of government written, CMS stuff is awful. Takes forever. We miss stuff. For AI to just read it and in 30 seconds go, Nick, here's what you're looking for. Sincerely, AI. It's just heaven sent, It's more thorough. It's faster. It finds stuff I wouldn't even have thought to look for. It reads my mind to some degree. So I just wanted to reiterate what you just said.
No, it's a fantastic example. And I think, the final piece to that is, okay, how do you make that information actionable for your sales force? And that's where you add that little step of making it your own, of saying, this is what I think about this, right? This is what I have to add to this. This is knowledge that, is not in the source document or what have you. And that, I think, is, for example, the thing that Michelle does really well is, she's not just regurgitating, this is QMSR. She's asking questions. She's saying things that are original to her. And that's the reason why I say AI will never replace you, assuming you have something to say. If you don't have anything to say, then you're in real trouble.
I think that's one thing that I'm interested to see about them, because I know you and Fryer are reworking a lot of my past videos into other formats right now. That's a big initiative for us. And I'm really curious to see the more of my specific content with my specific voice. Is the words that it comes out in written form going to reflect my character or my quirkiness or whatever,
It can be instructed to not clean up the language. It can be instructed to not summarize, say exactly what she said. The way that I like to do that, Michelle, is to say summarize it and then quote her. Right? Because I want the quote. I want the actual words. And then I add just for good measure and don't make it up. Right? Because sometimes ChatGPT will make up quotes. And that's, not what you said. It's like, it'll summarize what you said. And like, yeah, I didn't ask you to summarize what I said. I asked you to quote me. And if you just correct it, a lot of times it's just about correcting the thing. And it says, oh, I understand. And then it gives you what you want. Right? I just didn't understand the request. Along those lines, my advice, what to avoid banned words, I just go ahead and tell it when it's writing for me. Don't use the word navigate. Don't use the word pivotal. Don't say delve. Don't say deep dive, because these are, to me, clear indicators when I read a post that was generated by ChatGPT, the kind of language that it uses. Don't ask it to create content out of whole cloth. I strongly dissuade you from doing that, because it all sounds the same. There is no voice to the thing, and without personal insights, you're really just adding to the trash heap of useless crap floating around in the world. And excessive emojis, that's another clear indicator that the thing was generated by ChatGPT. It has, and whenever you ask it to write an email, it says, I hope this email finds you well. You've just wasted that much of a person's time to read that stupid line, which means nothing. Do you really care about their well-being? No, get to the point, right? Tell them why you're writing to them. Tell them what you need. Don't waste their time with, some people think that it's just polite, but I
That's a good one because this is silly and off topic. I used it one time because a former dog walker wanted a letter of recommendation for a lab tech job he was applying for. And I asked it to write, I have 4 dogs and I love my dog walker, write me a letter of recommendation. And I got like a whole page and just like so many excessive superlatives. And I'm like, cool it, buddy. Like, no, nobody's going to read that letter and take like, boy, what kind of relationship did she have with this dog walker?
exactly. So the first thing that you say is shorten it, and the second thing that you say, if it doesn't shorten enough, is write it like Hemingway.
I'd like to share something when I'm asked for a recommendation and I really want to help the person. A sentence that I say is something like, I'm so sure that you'll love working with Michelle, that give her a try, and if after a week you're not completely delighted, I will pay how much she's charging you. No one has ever asked me to pay, but it's like, wow, you would put your own money on the line about how much you endorse this person. Wow. So you're welcome to use that if you ever want to love on somebody.
Sean,
Yes.
I'd like to come back to one of your first sentences that you say you used a team version of ChatGPT because it doesn't learn it. It doesn't send information back to the data set. Is that really correct? I mean, in our company, we're advised to be very prudent with using AI for it might leak confidential information to the general data set, proprietary information, intellectual property, that kind of stuff. So do you have tips on that?
Does the team version of ChatGPT use the information which is uploaded into it to train the large language models, or does it remain confidential and offline?
Can
I'm
I
sorry.
try it?
So does not use the data uploaded by users to train the underlying language models. The information shared with ChatGPT remains confidential and is not used to improve and train the models. I mean, if you believe them, you know, I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
Okay.
For me, every single question that I have throughout the day, I put directly into ChatGPT because chances are the answer is going to be 10 times better and 10 times less annoying than going to Google, where they're going to show me what they want to show me in the order that they want to show it to me, and with all of the people that are paying for it coming up first. It is going to kill Google, I hope, you know, and then Google will acquire it. And then find a way to put advertising in it and all of that
I don't
stuff.
think Google will be buying Sam's product.
For right now, my best advice to all of you is you don't need to be an expert in ChatGPT. You just need to be a little bit better than the next person, the next regulatory consultant, the next packaging consultant, the next engineer. That's it. Just this much better than the next person.
That's also the definition of an expert, by the way. It's the person in the room that knows the most about whatever being talked about. And you don't necessarily have to know this much more, although most of us on this call do. You just have to know more than the person that you're trying to tell what to do.
Sean, do you have a comment on Gemini? Have you used it much now or no?
Not at all. No comment.
Okay, cool. But I appreciate what you did today.
Thank you. I hope it's helpful.
It is. For me as an engineer, it was quite frustrating. I mean, you would assume that it could the large language model is trained on all kind of information that's freely available. Then you come to like publications by companies that is freely available, but it's copyrighted. and then ChatGPT says, "Oh, sorry, I won't use copyrighted material for my advice." So, for instance, you have data sheets with all kind of information, and then you have these big sites where you can pick out parts on certain aspects, but it's usually price, availability, how many pins does it have, and usually not the things that I'm really interested in. So I thought, well, let's ask ChatGPT if they know a part that does certain things for me. Sorry, cannot do that. It's all copyrighted information. I don't do anything of it on it. Then I asked things about the MDR, like saying, how can I convince my boss that these things are important because it's mentioned in the MDR how we should do things. Then you get an answer that points to the totally wrong clauses with the totally wrong arguments. It was so frustrating.
Yeah, one thing that I've gotten out of ChatGPT, and really I have to give credit to the 10X Medical Conference, because I think when we really delved into it, I think it might have been Hunter that gave a talk, and his line on it was, if you guys don't have a ChatGPT or AI strategy in your company, you're behind your competitors, because I guarantee you most of your competitors are already doing that. And it's really like any other tool, you just have to learn how to optimize for it. But I do believe it's like being in the 90s and companies that didn't embrace the internet, like this, it's just so fundamentally fundamental to changing how we work. And, even if like it improves your productivity by 10 or 20%, that's already huge. But I'm with Sean that it can improve your productivity by 70 or 80%. The example I tell people sometimes is most of the engineers at my company are pretty senior, but we have one intern, and he mostly helps with, like, I don't know, just small little things. And I asked him to write a script for me to do some data plotting of JSON files or something like that. And I expected it was going to take him all day. And within 30 minutes, he came back to me with the script, and it worked exactly as I wanted it to work. And so I asked him, how'd you do that? He said, well, I've learned how to break down the problem into specific sections and throw them into ChatGPT. It gives me the code. I put it into Builder. It's 95% good. I go through it and I change the 2 or 3 things that I need to change, and I got it done in 20, 30 minutes, as opposed to like 4 to 6 hours. And so it's like, yeah, you can get frustrated with it if you throw in the wrong questions, or if you just try a particular approach and it comes back and it's not what you expected. Like, one option is to say, I don't like this thing, I'm going to move away from it. And another option is to say, I need to figure out how to ask the questions the right way, how to structure things the right way, how to think about it differently. Because if you just invest a little bit more energy into it, chances are it's going to get you 80 to 90% of where you need to get, which means it probably saves you, 60 to 70% of the effort you would have taken otherwise. Yeah. So we've really embraced it here. We use it for all sorts of things. And yeah, if you don't use it, you're going to fall behind, I think.
And in the example that we were just given about referring to the MDR and how do you convince your boss that this is important, upload the section of the MDR that you're referring to, then speak into ChatGPT and tell it, you misunderstood what I was asking. What I'm trying to do is to convince my boss of A, B, and C. I want you to refer exactly to this section of the MDR, and I want you to explain the significance and importance in a way that he can understand it. Right. And I want you to perhaps talk about the financial ramifications, or the regulatory ramifications, or the potential legal ramifications of.
But then it connected the dots slightly wrong, and then it's totally off. It's like a lot of times devils are in details, and it looks like it's a big language model and it misses details, something like that.
I just ask it to do it again. I say that's wrong, and what I want is this.
I had it once with the statistical thing, that the how to approach something on a statistical way. It had all the correct reasoning, and then it starts to do the calculus, and it comes up with different answers every time. It's very bad in calculus.
Hey, Nick,
That's 2 of us that are bad with calculus. So
hey, Sean, I was wondering if I can jump in. Nicholas one day last week sometime asked me a question about he's trying to do research. Nicholas, I'm throwing you under the bus here. He was asking me a question about how could he's doing research on medical device competitors, Can you explain that? Because Sean might have a really smart way. I didn't have a good answer for you, Nick. Can you ask Sean the same question without, more accurately?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to gauge the pricing of competitors, I guess, or what is the standard. So I'm not sure if it can get that, if it can go into that much detail and research that.
If it's not available on the internet, it's not going to find it. And the thing about pricing is that 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to tell you what their pricing is on the internet for that very reason. They don't want that information to be public. And as a marketing person who has done competitive landscape research over and over and over again for decades, I can tell you that almost nobody wants you to know their pricing. So I think that what you have to do is use your common sense and use the $1 through $4 signs, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and to try to determine from the website, am I able to tell, if their pricing model is based on, per unit or licensing or this, that, or the other thing. You can pretty much tell from a website what you're going to end up being charged in the ballpark. You just need to ballpark. Are we higher, lower, competitive with, are we the highest priced product in the market? Are we the lowest priced product you need to try to figure out where you fit in the scheme of things. And that's the best you're going to be able to do,
Yeah, I was wondering if there were like some patterns or trends. Actually, I found an old blog from Joe's website from 2013, where he posted, somebody had asked about, what is the markup for distributors, et cetera. And there was a whole bunch of people who chimed in. I was just curious if there are general, distributors charge this and then retail charges that, if there were, some ratios involved. But
you can ask it. I'm not, the kind of answer that I think you're going to get from ChatGPT is that can vary widely.
Yeah.
So then the next question that you have to ask GPT is, well, give me a bottom and top end range, right? And it will. I do that with contractors. We moved into a new house in January, and I said the first answer it gives me is that can vary widely depending on your choices, right? And the second question I go, but I'm just asking you how much to redo a powder room, top end and bottom end, and this say, $5,000 to $30,000 or more.
Excuse me, I expect that Nikki probably has to drop off. You've had your hand raised.
Yeah, real quick. The most interesting thing, I just had a conversation about this just an hour ago, is the use of AI that is going to update meta-analyses on the fly. So for everybody on this call, if you're curious, how well does aspirin work in the prevention of a heart attack? Well, you go to PubMed, you type that in, you see if there's a paper written. Hopefully there's a meta-analysis that somebody's already done that's looked at all the papers and analyzed them. Well, what's happening now, there's a company that I've known for a decade in Santa Monica called Dr. Evidence. When you get a minute, check out their website. They're amazing. Dr. Evidence is now doing this. So it's going to be living meta-analyses. So instead of going to PubMed and finding a static meta-analysis that was published in the spring of 2022, that's now out of date, it's 2 years old. There's been 15 new papers. So you got to go redo the meta-analysis. If you hire a contractor, it's $100,000. What's going to happen is that there's going to be live meta-analyses. So every new paper that's published automatically is data extracted, put into the old meta-analysis, all the charts and graphs renew. And the idea of these static peer-reviewed studies is going to be laughable. I don't know what's going to happen to publishing in terms of peer-reviewed, randomized, prospective clinical trials, case series, cohort, RCTs, but it's going to dramatically change, where you're going to be like, why do I care about a single study that was from 2019 to 2023, so on and so forth? I want a meta-analysis that is live. And every day it's updated with any new papers published. That's what AI is going to help us do. And it'll get to the point where anybody can, how does aspirin help you avoid a heart attack? And it'll pull up an automatic meta-analysis that you used to have to pay Boston Consulting Group for, you know, Bain Consulting, $150,000 and takes 6 months to do, you'll just do it instantaneously. I mean, it's really going to change evidence generation.
You think it's
amazing.
premature to short those stocks, Nikki?
No, I don't.
But you want to short everything, so.
Yeah, I do.
Including, I would say that that is an excellent example of how disruptive AI is going to be, particularly for consultants and experts and people who traffic in information. And I think that mastering this technology earlier than your competitors do is critical to maintaining your advantage and critical to maintaining your expert status and point of view in a way that doesn't get diluted by the amount of noise that is going to sweep over the world.
I think you've adequately whet our appetite to, at a minimum, call you to have you do all this stuff for us.
Not it.
Well, I don't know how much more bandwidth he has, because I know with Michelle as a client, you have a bit of a workload.
Well, one of the things I would love some advice from the people on the call is scaling my business. I have reached a point where I have, you know, hired a counselor to come in and help us scale the business because we are, you know, the work that we do is very peculiar and specific. And I am peculiar and specific. So between those
Ask
things.
Paul D'Souza.
Yeah, he's a great person to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you for today. And if you're not actively following Sean on LinkedIn, make it a point to do so.
I just want to say I didn't know that Sean was working with Michelle, but I love Michelle's content with her little never have I ever, and I love all of that stuff. So super cool.
She was doing that before I met her. I cannot.
Can't take credit.
And that's not AI, that's real life.
Well, either way, kudos to you.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you, Sean.
Michelle, are we going to meet now?
Yes, invite Leslie too, please.
Okay, bye.
Bye.